Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Michal, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can install Charm Kubeflow on your EC2 instance in the AWS. If you want to see more videos about the Kubeflow or Charm Kubeflow, please leave a like, subscribe and write it in the comment section. Before we start, we need to mention what you need to do before we start, writing code and stuff. So first thing is that you need an AWS account. In the video description, I will leave a link to my GitHub repo where I will summarize all the commands which I will use today. And there you will find also a link to a nice documentation on the AWS how you should create your account. It's very important to note that you will have to pay for this because we will use, the account is for free, creation is for free, but we will use an EC2 instance of a type extra large. We need to use this instance because Kubeflow needs to use many resources and has a lot of components, so you will need to pay a little bit. So you need to set up the payment properly, and you also need to link your card. And when you will go through this account setup, you will also need to prove the card is yours by providing, the amount they will send your or they will deduct from your account and so on. So go please through this setup and create your AWS account. The second thing, which I highly recommend, is working not with your root account, okay? So please create an IAM account. Again, I will leave in the description of this video a link to a documentation which will tell you how you can create your account, IAM account, and then log to IAM account and do everything from IAM account, okay? But you can also do it from a root account. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just log inside your AWS console and work with me and do the same thing which I do, okay? So I am right now in my browser. This is a Chrome, and I'm inside my AWS console. And I have here prepared the commands which we will run, so you can find them in the description as I mentioned. And let's go to the EC2 section. So I'm in the console and I'm in the EC2. First thing what you need to do is set up the correct region. So I'm in the Central Europe, so I'm going for EU Central 1, which is in Frankfurt. Please choose the region which is closest to you, okay? But you can also work from Frankfurt with me, and it will maybe take a little longer to communicate with the server. It doesn't matter, but for now we are working from Frankfurt. So we go to the instances. And here right now I have 0 instances. Here you will have list of instances, okay? It's important to know this UI because later after we finish this, I will show you how you can destroy your instance so you will not pay forever for this instance. And sometimes when people are starting to work with, AWS, they keep to forget, running instances inside this UI, and they are paying, some crazy amount of money for nothing. So you click on the launch instance part here, and here you will create a name for your instance. So we call it Kubeflow test instance. And now what you need to do is provide a AMI. Very generally speaking, it's like you need to choose what OS the instance will be running and what is the setup. So for the Frankfurt users, I have put here an AMI which we will use, but I will come back to the other one. So click on the browse more AMIs. We will not use the default ones. And here I click AMI, which I copied from the code below in my Visual Studio Code. You can find it in the description. And here I click on the community AMIs. If you are not working from Frankfurt, this AMI will not work from you, okay? Because these AMIs are bound to region, and for Frankfurt it's this one. So you can use any, setup AMI which has Ubuntu 2004 LTS. Anything you choose, 2004 is good enough. Don't choose the 2204, sometimes it's failing. For now, let's stick with 2004, okay? That's the safest bet. You click on select, and now you have selected your AMI. In case you are on Frankfurt, in case you're somewhere else, choose the one which you want. Now, from the instance type, you need to go for a T2X, 2X large, okay? It's a 2X large. So this is a large instance, and as you can see, you will pay around $0.42 US per hour, which is quite much. I'm sorry, the Kubeflow has a lot of components. It's a very essential tool, and we like it. And you need a lot of resources. That's why you're paying for this, but yeah, doesn't matter. So now you go for the key pair section, and it's important. I don't have any key pairs right now because I think you neither have if you are starting from scratch. So you click on the new key pair and click on the RSA part and give it a name like Kubeflow test key pair. And I go with create key pair, which will download the key pair for you, okay? And now this is important. You need to keep this key pair on a safe place. There is no way you can download it for a second time. So if you lose it, you will need to regenerate the instance. You will need to regenerate the key pair. You can create as many key pairs as you want. I believe they are for free, up to I don't know how many, but some of them are free, okay? So you can keep them, keep it in a safe place and store it somewhere where you know where it is. In the networking settings, go with the create security groups option. If you have some security group, go for it. And for the purpose of this demo, we will just stick with the SSH traffic from anywhere. Again, the safest bet is to provide here your IP address, but for now we go with anywhere. If there are some, some people who wants to sneak into my account, I will destroy everything after this demo, so don't worry, even this test account, IAM account, so don't worry. Now the important part is the configure storage section. Here we need to specify how many gigs of disk we will use. So the documentation of Kubeflow says it's like 50 gigs, but to be safe we go with 100 gigs, and the type is GP2. It's quite expensive, but whatever. For now, this is the setup, okay? So don't forget to set up beside it, and now click on the launch instance. After launching instance, it will take around a couple of minutes to run, maybe even seconds. I think when I click now, it should be in active state. So right now it's in a pending state. You need to wait until this pending state will be in the green state. I think it's active or started. I always keep forgetting about that. But that's not important right now. After having this instance, when you click on the instance, you will see that there was a public IPv4 address assigned to it, or public IPv address assigned to it, so you will need to have this one. Yeah, as you can see, it's in running state. Okay, running state is the name. Okay, I hope it's big enough. So you click here, and you got the public IPv4 DNS. You can copy it like this. Sorry, that's the button. Yeah, and now you will go to your terminal. I'm using Terminator. So now the next thing what you need to do, you need to move the key pair from the downloads folder to your current folder. You can do it with this command, like, yeah, it's already there, but yeah, running the command downloads, Kubeflow test, that's the name of the key pair which we created. That permit was downloaded to your computer, and I'm moving it to the current location, which is this one, which I'm right now inside. And now what we need to do, we need to change the access rights to the key pair. So with the chmod, we go with 600 and the name of the key pair right like this. Now what we need to do is run the SSH command. So SSH-I, specifying the key pair which we created, and then we specify the username for the EC2 instance. The default is Ubuntu. Most of the cases is Ubuntu. Please check the documentation if you are using some exotic AMI. And then you specify here the DNS, which I got from the details of the EC2 instance. So it's this one, public IPv4 DNS. That's what I copied. Or you can also use the IP if you want. It's up to you. So here I run this command. It will ask you to add the fingerprint, write down yes. I wasn't asked this time because I tested a couple of seconds ago, and now you will be logged into the instance. Now, so that was the easier part. So now you have your EC2 instance running in Frankfurt or somewhere else. What we need to do now is set up Kubeflow. So Kubeflow setup right now is a little bit cumbersome. If you go to documentation, which I'm again linking in the description, it may be confusing for newcomers, so I'm showing this video, and I'm doing this video to show you how to do it step by step. So first, we will specify the Kubernetes version which we want to run the Kubeflow on. So right now, we are running Kubeflow version 1.6 stable, and this version supports the Kubernetes version up to 1.22, so no higher. I'm sorry for now. It should also work with 1.23, but 1.22 is the official one which we are supporting. So I will create here a variable name Kubeflow version. The next thing, we specify the channel or the version of Kubeflow which we will run. In this case is 1.6/stable. And now we will install a couple of prerequisites because, Kubeflow has many components which are Juju charms. We will also need to install a Juju. For those of you who don't know what is Juju, I highly recommend checking it on the internet. But here, as we can see on the main page, Juju is a charmed operator framework, an open source framework for use charmed operators. Basically, if you are working with Kubernetes, because we will run it in Kubernetes in a couple of seconds, we will also install Kubernetes in this single node in the EC2 instance. So there is this concept of operators, and Juju is using this kind of concept of operators to deploy the charms. But charms, very simply said, we will deploy a couple of operators. I will call it charms, which are part of this charmed Kubeflow, deployment, and they are making this whole project. So that's why you need Juju. So we will install Juju with this command. So for snap in Juju wait charmcraft, and we go with sudo snap install the name of the snap, and we are running it from classic, and that's the for cycle which we will run first. So I go here and put it here again, repeating. All the commands are linked in the description below. So after installing all these settings, all these prerequisites, we will install something which is called Microcates. Microcates is a distribution, a smaller distribution of Kubernetes provided by Canonical. I really like it for, experimenting and playing around. And using microK8s, you can very simply set up a single node cluster inside the EC2 instance. Within a couple of seconds, minutes, you will see it, okay? So I will install it with snap, so sudo snap install microK8s classic, and specifying the channel with the variable which I specified about, which is 1.22 stable. So because we are supporting stable, but you can run any version of it. So like this, yeah, you can run any version of it, but not for Kubeflow, because Charm Kubeflow currently supports this version. It will change in the near future, so please always check out our webpage, Charm Kubeflow. It's linked in the description. Yeah, it's very nice. This project I really like. It's moving fast, and we are trying to develop new features and bring it to the customers as soon as possible. So this will install the microK8s. We also need to install this, we need to refresh this Charmcraft thing. Okay, that's not important right now, but we are doing it just to be sure. Then we will add the user microK8s to the group Ubuntu to have the correct access right, and then we will, change these settings with this command. And after that, we will move for the next commands. So right now we are waiting for microK8s to be installed. As you can see, it's taking some time, but it's not that long. If you are, for example, setting up the whole cluster from scratch on a single node, that will take much longer. microK8s is much faster, so let's wait for a couple of seconds. I will come back soon. So microK8s is installed. We go with the Charmcraft refresh command here, and we go with the user mode command. And yeah, with this sudo su user command. Perfect. So now the microK8s is set up. Yeah, what we need to do is enable some add-ons for microK8. So the bare, flat version of microK8s doesn't have a lot of nice add-ons which we want to use. Like, for example, we want to use the DNS feature of the microK8s. We want to use some storage options. So, for example, we want to use host path volumes in the Kubeflow, right? And we also want to use this amazing MetalLB, add-on, which allows you to create the ingress rules, and you need to specify some IP range for it. So it's here. I don't want to go into too much details. This video is mostly about, installation. If you want to see more videos, more detailed videos about these tools, please leave a comment. I will be glad. I want to remind you that it's a great time to leave a like and subscribe under my channel. So I will come back after these add-ons are enabled in my microK8s. So I didn't even have to stop the video recording, it was so fast. So now they are enabled. Now, for those of you, sometimes we want to use, this command kubectl, right? So if you want to use command kubectl with microK8s, it's microK8s kubectl, right? So if you go like getpoo, right, and if we go in all namespaces, it's like this. So it's not very handy to always write microK8s space kubectl. So we are creating this alias, which is very handy. And then we will need to wait for all the things to be set up properly. So first we are waiting for, the availability of the deployment for core DNS and the deployment for host path provisioner. So those are just the important components which were deployed with the add-ons. And before we continue with the installation of the Kubeflow, we need to make sure that they are enabled. So basically right now what I'm doing is I'm creating a Kubernetes cluster inside this EC2 instance, because Kubeflow can run only in the Kubernetes cluster, okay? So that's why the setup is so long, okay? But I promise in the future, it will be just a couple of clicks. We will be working on it. For example, I'm also working on something like that in the future. So let's wait a couple of seconds. Okay, this is available. And now we also check the Calico node. Yeah. Please feel free to go online and check out those amazing add-ons, what they are doing and what is Calico and what is core DNS and stuff like this. This is not an introductory video into Kubernetes, but if you are interested in that kind of content, please let me know. Fine, so right now we have Kubernetes set up. And the next thing what we need to do is initialize a Juju controller. So as I mentioned, the Juju is the operator framework, which helps you to deploy operators into your Kubernetes cluster, but also it works outside of Kubernetes cluster, but we will use it for Kubernetes cluster. And if you want to use it with the Kubernetes cluster, you need to set up a controller and the model. So in the first step, we will create a controller pointing to our microK8s installation inside our local computer. When I say local computer, I mean in an EC2 instance. So inside the EC2 instance, I'm creating a controller pointing to the microK8s installed in the EC2 instance, okay? So that's the first step. This will take a couple of seconds. When you create a controller, it will create a, controller inside the microcase inside the Kubernetes. It will create also all the necessary components like pods and all the stuff if it's needed inside the microcase. It will take a couple of seconds. Let's wait for it. So now after a couple of seconds, you can see that bootstrap complete. Controller is now available. If you run the juju controllers command, you will see that the controller is here. It's pointing to the microcase microcase region. You can also connect it with different clouds. That's not the point of this video. Now the next thing what we need to do is create a model. Basically, model is a part like a component of a controller. You can have multiple models for the controller, but right now we will create a Kubeflow model. What it will do, it's quite fast. It will create the model for your Juju controller, and it will also create the namespace. So if you go like kubectl get namespace, you will see that there was a Kubeflow namespace created like 18 seconds ago. So now we have everything ready to deploy the Kubeflow. And now before I deploy the Kubeflow, deploying Kubeflow with Juju is as simple as running juju deploy Kubeflow and specifying the channel, which is basically version. I want to show you where you can see the latest updates about it, because maybe if you are watching this video a year ago, there is different version of the Kubeflow. I think there will be much new one. So if you want to check what is the status of the charm, it's called charm, you go to a site called charmhub.io. You can see the link in the description of this video, and here you will go and search for Kubeflow, and this will list you all the available charms connected with the Kubeflow. And Kubeflow bundle is the charm or bundle of charms which we will deploy. If you click here, you will see in this drop down the versions which are available right now. So you can see that the latest stable version 329 is pointing to the same version as 1.6 stable channel. So the latest stable channel is right now 1.6 stable. That's why I'm deploying it. But maybe in the future there will be something higher. So always please go to the charmhub.io to check for the version and change this variable according to your needs. Right now we have a channel 1.6 stable, so we need to deploy it, and we will deploy it with the command juju deploy kubeflow channel. And please don't forget the trust at the end. It's very important. Right now it's not important like what is it doing, but it is deploying the Kubeflow according to our needs. So I'm just double checking it. Yeah. So we are deploying it. Now this will now locate all the charms. So as I said, the Kubeflow charm is a bundle of charms, and these are all the charms which will be deployed from the charmhub.io. You can see that for each charm there is a version which we are deploying. Because Kubeflow is not a small project, it consists of multiple like sub-projects. You can see like, for example, admission, webhook, Argo controller, Argo server, Dex out, Istio, and Kadib, and a lot of other components which are part of this bundle. It takes some time to deploy. Now we need to wait until this one is finished. This initial deploy, output takes a couple of seconds. We will just wait. But in the next step, what we will do, we will set up an authentication, because Kubeflow out of the box needs to have some user which will, connect into the dashboard. And if this dashboard is behind the Dex, component and the OICD, so you need to specify it with the next commands, which I will run in a couple of seconds. But if we look at the commands, we will just specify the username. In this case, it will be just user123 email.com. And we will specify a password. Of course, if you want to have a setup connected with your, company LDAP, or, with Microsoft accounts or something like that, there are some tutorials on the internet that are not part of this video right now. But for now, we are just creating a simple user, and we are specifying the address. Sorry, it's here. Yeah, the address where the dashboard, the Kubernetes dashboard, will be available. Dashboard is a place from which you are interacting with the Kubeflow. If you want to see more videos, please leave a comment. And then here with these commands like juju config dex out, we are specifying, and juju config, password. We are specifying like the username and password. Fine. So this one is still locating the charms. Now it's creating the relations. So this one is set up. Before we move to the checking the status, please run this next command with the username password specification. So there are like multiples of commands. And the next thing, which is quite unfortunate, is that we have internally a small bug which is not creating a gateway, which is needed for Istio. So please run also this fix command to fix the bug, which I linked on the line and commented it. You can always check the bug if it's still available, but I think it will not, it will do no harm if you run this command every time you're deploying it. So this will create something which is called a gateway object inside your cluster. It may take a couple of seconds to trigger, but that's it. Right now, you just need to wait a couple of minutes before all of the components will be active and will be available for you. So now, as you can see, this command finished. There is no output. And now what we need to do, yeah, I will clear the output. Now what we need to do is check for the components. So I will copy the last command here, and I will paste it here. This will automatically refresh the state of your components in your controller and model. So I will just now leave this running. Please also do the same thing. You will see sometimes the components will go to the blocked state or to the maintenance state. It's not a problem. Just give it a couple of minutes. I would say 30 minutes, up to 30 minutes. And yeah, I will come back to you when all these components are green in the active state. The most important components to check are the Kubeflow dashboard and the Istio pilot. Okay, so those are like the most important one which we will communicate if we want to connect to the dashboard. Okay, so now just leave it running until the status of each of these components is in active state. Okay, this is like automatically updated. So I will come back in a short. So I'm back, and as you can see, everything is in status active. Maybe if you are running this example with me, you see that either TensorBoard controller or TensorBoard web app has the status waiting with the message saying like waiting for gateway relation info. It means that the fix command which we were running didn't succeed. So please go ahead, cancel this view with Ctrl+C. Copy the command with which was above the nice command, right? So this one again. Ctrl+V and run it again, and then go back to nice, and in a couple of seconds the TensorBoard controller on the TensorBoard web application should go to the active status. So perfect. Now we have everything running in an EC2 instance, and now what we will do, we will create a proxy between EC2 instance and your local computer through the port 9999, so we can access the dashboard from the browser in our local computer. Okay, so how we do that? So first we need to escape or exit the SSH session by pressing Ctrl+D, and again pressing Ctrl+D. So right now I'm in my local computer. I'm putting arrow to the top, and we will extend this previous SSH command with the option capital D 99999. Enter. So now we are proxying it or tunneling it through the port 99999, and we need to right now set up the browser to proxy it through the port 99999 on our local host. So for this I have a Firefox installed, so I recommend using Firefox if you want. You can even set up it in your Google Chrome, doesn't matter. Please note one thing: when you access it, or you will be accessing it like this, you may see warning messages or error messaging like this: channel blah blah blah, open failed, connect failed, open failed. That's not important right now. You can ignore those messages and continue with me. So you go to these 3 lines and go to the settings section, and in define settings go for proxy. Open the proxy settings, click on the manual proxy configuration, and in the SOCKS host put 127.0.0.1, which is localhost, and the port 99999, and use the option SOCKS v5. Press OK, and now you should be all set up. The next thing what you need to do, you can now access the dashboard, and we will do it. And how you can do it: if you go back to the commands which you run, in the command with the username blah blah blah, there was a public URL specified. So please copy this public URL, Ctrl+C, go back to the Firefox and put it there. Now you will access this DEX authentication page where you will put your email and password which is specified. It's here, from the command user123.email.com, and the password is user123. You can change it if you want. So now you press login, and this will redirect you to this welcome message saying that you need to specify an account, because in Kubeflow you can have like multiple accounts. It enables you to create multiple accounts, different notebooks per account and different experiments per account. This one will create a user account for you because it was not created default, because we just set up the authentication methods, and you can click on start setup. This will be the name of the namespace which will be created for you in the Kubernetes, and you can click on finish. So after finishing this, you will be redirected to the main page of the dashboard. It's a very nice page. And just to evaluate that everything worked correctly, if you go here, press Ctrl+C, and you go kubectl get namespace, you will see, you need to rerun the alias. Yeah, Control R and get the alias command from the commands which I specified, because it will always keep forgetting it. And if you go like kubectl get namespace, you will see that user123 was created for you. Perfect. So now you can create a notebook if you want. You go to notebooks and create a notebook, but this video was all about the installation of the AWS. So this is for you. One important thing before we finish or conclude this video. So you can use it as much as you want, but please be sure to terminate the instance when you're done. So when you want to terminate this, if you want to shut it down or pause it, yeah, there are two options. So you can either stop the instance, you click here, click right and go to stop instance and then start it again. But if you are done with working with Kubeflow and you want to get rid of it, please do this after it, because you will pay for this instance. It's not a small instance and you can pay a lot for it. So you can just go right and go for terminate instance. This will remove everything completely. So please make sure to back up all your progress in the Kubeflow if you want. Perfect. So that's for today. Again, I highly recommend checking the links which are in the video description. Maybe this video will get old soon, so I will try to update those. And I will really appreciate your like and subscribe. If you want to see more videos about Kubeflow, for example, how to create pipelines and how to do things in Kubeflow, work with notebooks and, you know, do some fancy stuff with machine learning there, please let me know in the comment section. My name is Michal Hucko. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I will see you in the next video.